Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the InVhestia webinar on dashboards. My name is Nyambura. I work at InVhestia. We're very pleased today to be joined by Mohit Singh, who is an experienced trainer. We had him visit with us last year, and he carried out the training on Introduction to Excel, and he is very experienced, having been a trainer with F1, F9. He teaches financial modeling and has done so for several companies. So we are all in good hands. And with that short and quick to the point introduction, I'll have Mohit carry on with the meeting.
Thanks, Nimra, for the introduction, and I welcome you all in this session of dashboards. So what we'll be doing is we'll be learning a bit about data validation, and then we'll be looking upon the structure of how our dashboard sheet should look, and then we will look upon some examples, and after that I'll show you a couple of graphs. And then I think this is because this is a 1 hour session, and we'll be looking upon most of the things that we can do using the data validation, because data validation is an important technique in Excel which should be used while creating dashboards. And dashboards are what? I mean, dashboards are nothing but a presentation of whatever calculations you have done in your model or any other whatever activity you are doing in your Excel, right? So dashboard is nothing but the presentation, right? So I think we have enough number of people to start. So what I'll request you all is, I will be showing you, or I'll be working around the Excel workbook, and I'll be telling you the steps, I'll be telling you the shortcuts. I'll just request every one of you to keep writing the notes, keep writing the shortcuts, and once this webinar is over, we'll be sharing with you the Excel file on which you can practice it later, right? Okay. So I think everyone can see my screen now. Right. Okay, so we'll start with the data validation. Data validation is nothing but we just need to restrict our data from a big data set, or you can say that we have a data set somewhere present in a different sheet, and we just want to use the data according to our requirements, right? So you might have also seen that whenever you fill some form in websites, you get these drop downs saying to choose an option from those drop downs. That is what is just called data validation, right? So the first thing that we will look in data validation is using data validation. I mean, to use the data validation technique, referring to some cell addresses. Now what this means is, I'll just create a drop-down list here using the data which is present in these cells, right? So what I'll do, I'll use this cell and create a drop-down list, and once that drop-down list is in place, I can choose any of those data present in different cells, right? So the shortcut for opening the data validation window is, just need to hit the Alt key, then D as in Delta, L as in Larry, Alt D L. I repeat, it's Alt D L to open this data validation window. And once you open this data validation window, you can see that there's this drop down which is asking me the option for allow. So I just click on this. I need to create a list, so I will choose this option of list, and then I need to give the source. Source is nothing but the data from where I need to create the list, right? So I click on this. I will select these cells where my data is present. Hit OK, and you can see there's a small drop down appearing here, right? So if I click on this drop down, you can see I'm getting the options which I have in a different data set present somewhere else. Right? So I just choose this as February. Right? Now, the next use or the next way how we can use data validation is data validation using list. So again, I will just type Alt DL, and in this list typed in source window. If you look at this label, data validation using list, and the list typed in source window. So this is the source window. I will just select the option of list. Now here I want to just have three options like yes, no, or maybe. Oops, maybe. Right? I click on OK. I press Alt and down arrow key, Alt and down arrow key to open this drop down, and I can choose the one which I want and hit enter. Right? I hope these two are clear. Moving on to the third option, which is data validation using list using a range name. So what is a range name? Range name is nothing but when we define a name to a data set. So this is my data set. You can see I have defined a name. I have given a name which is validation for these cells, right? What I can do, I'll simply press Alt DL again, open this window, need to go to list, then in source, what I will give equals to validation, which is the range name which I have already defined to these cells. Right, okay. Again, you can see there's a drop down and validation, the range name which I used here for validation, I can choose any of the right? Fine. Next option in data validation is data validation using values, preventing invalid data. Invalid data, what can be invalid data? So suppose, for example, we want to restrict our inputs. Suppose we are offered some inputs from a user. We want to take in inputs from a user, and we want those numbers to be restricted only according to our requirements. Say for example, I want the user to enter the number between 1 and 50. Right, so what I'll do, I'll again go to the data validation window. I have this option of allow, what we want to allow. So in this case, I just want to allow a whole number. I want the user to enter the whole number between minimum 1, maximum 50. I'll press OK. Now, if I press number say 20 here, it will be there. It will come as we type. But suppose if I type the number say 55, this will give me an error. Right. So what this tells me is that I'm not entering the correct input. Right. And also what we can do, I open this window again. you can see that there is an input message here. So I go into this. I can just type enter the correct number, and input message I can type please enter the number between 1 to 3. Right. So what I'm doing is I am informing the user what type of input is required in this cell. Right. So I hit OK. So what I can see, as soon as I come at this cell, there is a pop-up message which tells me what type of input is required. So now I can see that please enter the number between 1 to 50. So I know what type of input is required. So I just type 20 and this is it. Right. Another type of data validation is using data validation restricting dates. Right. So again, to do this, I will just type Alt DL. In this drop down, I will select date because we want to restrict date. Suppose I want the user to enter the dates only from 1st January 2019 to 31st December 2019. Right? I hit OK, and now if I type today's date, which is 24th, then it lets me in. It takes the input. Suppose if I change the year, right. So again, in input message, I will give the input as input the correct date. Please enter dates between 1st Jan 2019 to 31st December 2019. Right. Along with this, I can give an error message as well. Suppose if someone types a wrong date even after reading the input message, I can write warning and the date is incorrect. Fine. Now the last one, which is data validation using decimals. So suppose if I want to restrict my input from the user in terms of decimals, again I will type Alt D L, settings. In settings, I will choose this option of decimals. So I want the user to enter minimum from 0.1 to 0.9. Right, okay. Now if I enter 0.9, it's fine. And let me just type some input message here. In message, I will type please enter number between 0.1 and 0.9. In case if the input is not correct, I will declare a warning. Your input is not perfect. Please check the right? So I come to the cell. If I type 12, which is not a decimal, the range of decimal which I have given. So this displays your input is not correct. Please check the number, cancel it. And before typing anything, there's already a message for me. Enter decimal numbers, which is the heading. Please enter the number between 0.1 to 0.9. Right. So these are few types how we can use the data validation. And again, data validation is one of the very, very important measures while creating dashboards. Right. I hope that these 4-5 points are clear. And let's just quickly move on to the next topic, which is of dashboards. So this is a worksheet which I have just created for dashboards. And what we can do, since this is a simple Excel sheet right now, but we want to make it a bit better in presentation, what I can do, first thing, I will remove the grid lines. The shortcut for that is Alt W V G. So as I typed Alt W V G, you can see the grid lines have disappeared. Right? Now, what we'll do, we'll create a drop down here in this dashboard sheet, and for that I have some calculations in this calculation sheet. We'll use this data, create a drop down here, right? And from this drop down we will change something which will change the calculation numbers, and based on these calculation numbers we'll create a graph here, right? So that the graph updates with the change in option. So I'll just do that. Please be with me on this. So let me just first show you the calculations. What calculations I've done? What I've done is I've just taken the repayment profiles, different types of repayment profiles, right? What I'm doing is I'm just using the index function here for choosing the repayment profile. So there's a debt for which we need to make the repayment, and there are 3 types of profiles provided to us. So we need to choose one of these profiles according to which the repayment will be done, right? So for example, right now this label, this number 1, all this is hard coded, you can see. What I need to do is I will create this kind of some structure here, so that if I change the profile from here from 1 to, I'll create a drop down here, obviously I'll create a drop down, and if I change the profile from here from 1 to 2, it updates automatically here from 1 to 2, and accordingly the profile would change, right? So if you just want to have a quick look, if this is 1, if I'm choosing the first profile for repayment, which is of 5 years, you can see right now this is first profile which is chosen, right? It starts with 10%, 10%, 5, 5, and so on. If I move on, if I change this to profile number 2, then you can see the second profile, which is this one, is selected here, right? And if I change this from 2 to 3, then the third profile is chosen, this one. Now, this block we are choosing the profile, and once we have chosen the profile, we already know the debt, the amount of debt which we have taken. We have the profile in place, and with this we are just calculating the repayment, right? I hope this much is clear that what we are doing in this block, we have created this block just to choose which profile we want to choose for repayment, right? Once we have chosen this profile, right? So once we have chosen the profile, just need to multiply that with the amount of debt, which is this. Accordingly, the profile, according to the profile, the repayment would be done. Fine. So what I want is I want to create a drop down here first of all. So for creating the drop down, what I just need to do is I just need to press Alt D L and go to settings. In settings, I'll go to the option of list. In list, what I want is I can either choose profile number 1, 2 or 3. So I'll hit OK. Now you can see there's a drop down here, which is this. And in this drop down, there are 3 types of profiles. I mean, these are just a switch 1, 2 or 3, which I can choose. So for example, I've chosen the first one. Now, next thing what I will do is I want to link this switch. I want to link this switch in this row. So whenever I update the repayment profile from the dashboard sheet, it is automatically updated in the calculation block, and accordingly the repayment profile is chosen, and accordingly the numbers would be updated. And based on these numbers, we will be creating a graph, and the graph will update. Right, so let's quickly see how we can do this. So we need to just create a link, which is, I'll just press equals to, go back to the source, hit enter. Right, so I have just created a link. Let me just remove this coloring. Right. So you can see that I have created a link from dashboard sheet, and this is what I want. So suppose if I change this switch, suppose I want to change the repayment profile from the first one to the second one, I will just choose second option. I will go there. The next sheet, you can see it's already updated, and the second profile is chosen. Right. According to that, my debt repayment is also gets updated. I hope this much is clear. Right. Right. So the next thing what we'll do, we'll just quickly create a graph. So I will post this data, go to insert. Let's just use this stacked graph, right? And what I'll do, I'll just cut this graph and paste this in the dashboard sheet, because graphs are created for dashboard purpose only. And again, what I'll do, I don't need these columns. What I will do, I will select these columns and hide them. So you can see I have restricted the columns of my dashboard until column I. Right, and based on this profile, based on this repayment, I have created a graph which is here. For example, now if I change the repayment profile from 2 to 1, you can see the graph updates. And if I change it to 3, again the graph updates, right? So I mean I have not taken everything in consideration while creating this graph, that what timing calculation, what timeline is going on, and what different titles should be. I'm just creating this for teaching purpose right now, right? Suppose, oops. So what we have done is, let me just recap everything. We have created a switch here for selecting the repayment profile. From this, I can select the repayment profile whichever I want. So I want the first repayment profile to be chosen. I'll select this, hit enter. What is happening is that repayment profile switch is linked here, and that is linked here. So if I change anything here, this number would update, which is in cell F6, right? And according to this, the change in this number, the formula which I have entered here is, which is index function. It is using this switch to choose the profile from these three profiles, right? And here is the balance of debt, amount of debt which we have taken. I have linked this repayment profile here, just multiplied this. Now this gives me the amount which is supposed to be repaid in each period, right? And based on this amount which is supposed to be repaid in each period, what I have done is I have created this chart. So let me just rename this to debt repayment. Right? We can also add some other titles like access titles, bars, grid lines, legends, right? Depends on our requirement, right? And also if you want, we can just quickly select these grid lines and delete it. So now it looks better. What does this tell me? If I change this switch from 1 to 2, now in each period this much amount is getting repaid. If I change it to 3, you can see that how the repayment is decreasing over the period, right? Okay. So I mean, this is just the base for creating dashboards. This is how dashboards should be created, because in dashboard it should be flexible enough. There should be enough options for the user to change the inputs from the dashboard. Like I just created this drop down to quickly change the repayment profile, and accordingly I can see the chart getting updated, right? Along with that, what we can do is, right, before moving ahead, let me just show you different kinds of charts that we can create, right? So these are the different types of charts depending upon the requirements, and these are all those things which are most required in while creating dashboards, right? So this session is basically just the introduction of what dashboards should be, and since this is an hour session, so we are not doing too much in this, but our next full-fledged dashboard session is planned maybe during the next week. You can get the details from the office from Nimbora. Now let me just show you what different kinds of charts are there which can be created. So sometimes we are planning something and there's a target for that and the actual numbers. So we can create this kind of a cycle. You can see a bicycle there. and where the target is and where the actual numbers are. We can create this kind of graph. We have seen this kind of graphs many times when we watch some kind of sports matches, right? So there we can see that there's a kind of a trend line going on, right? Now, next is this kind of graphs, which is basically driven through these options. You can just increase or decrease the numbers by clicking on these scroll buttons, right? As soon as you click on them, this graph would update automatically. As this number increases, the blue lines would change, and if I just change the number for the next option, the red one would update, right? So this is another kind of graph which we can create. Now this kind of graph is the combination, you can say a combination of most of the data. So you can see in this kind of graph there is dividend declared and paid, sub-debt interest paid, construction cost, equity redemption, senior debt repayment, sub-debt repayment, senior debt interest. So everything is included in a single chart. From this we can just analyze what is going on the funding part, right? So it caters to repayments, interest, equity, redemption, everything, including construction costs. Now, then another option can be this kind of chart where you can see I'm just creating a retained cash balance. And for this, I have also taken some negative numbers. I mean, on this axis, I have taken one benchmark as -50 because the cash balance can also go negative. So we need to keep in mind what kind of, I mean, the chart which we are creating, or what type of data which we are, for which we are creating. So accordingly, we need to keep a axis updated, right? Now, another chart which I would like to show you is, yeah, this one. This is a speedometer chart. You might have seen this normal speedometer charts many a times, right? But what I have done is I have created this chart in such a way that these two graphs are linked with each other. This is a normal speedometer chart. So what will happen in this is whatever value I update here as input, and this should be between 0 to 100. So right now it is 10, and you can see this pointer is pointing somewhere here in the red zone, which is giving me the value of 10. I mean, this is displaying, this is presenting the value of 10 in this speedometer chart. As I'll increase this number, this pointer would increase. So from red zone something, I mean, for whatever data we are creating this kind of chart, the pointer would go from red to yellow zone, then yellow to green zone, and accordingly, whatever number is updated here. But if you look at this next chart, you can see these both are linked, but how they are linked? They are linked in such a way that whatever number I'll update here, firstly, this would appear here, and the percentage wise out of 200 would be pointed here. Suppose I change this number from 10 to say 5, you can see that the number is actually 5, and out of 200, this is 9% of 200, right? Next thing what you can notice is, since this number is lying in, the number 5 is lying in the red zone here, so the color of this chart or this graph is red. This is red, this is red, right? So if I input some number, let's say for example 30, you can notice that pointer has shifted from red zone to yellow zone and giving me the number is 30 here. Accordingly, you can see that this chart has also updated with the color shade, which is, and also showing the percentage, which is 54. Now if I change the number from 30 to 100, 100 is 100. Sorry, the percentage was maximum was 180. I'm so sorry. It was not 200%. So 100 is 180%, right? And this is also changing the color according to the zone. Let me just change it to 60. So 60 is 108% of 180, right? So this is another kind of a technique or the combination. It's, I mean, again, it's a combination of two different types of charts, and we can learn this and use this kind of charts in various types of dashboards, right? So let me just recap everything once again for you. What we just started with is, we saw how to create a drop-down list using data validation, right? The first one was just using the source data in the data validation option. The next one was to directly type the data which we want, right? So I just type yes, no, maybe, and select any one of them. Then what we did was we used a range name, that is, we defined a name range for this data, which is validation. The name is validation, and if you can see, I just used that name in the source list, right? And again, I'm getting the same options which I was getting here. Then we used data validation to prevent invalid data. I mean, if I just want to get inputs between some range, then I just use this option. I just use this option, and you can see the numbers to be entered is from 1 to 50, right? And then we can restrict the dates, which is what I've done is from 1st Jan 2019 to 31st December 2019. And then again, the data validation using decimals. In this, what I've done is I've restricted the input from 0.1 to 0.9, and this is also displayed in this small text box. And even if I enter something wrong, there would be a warning, because I have also used the option of error message to appear if there is some wrong input, right? Now in the dashboard section, what I've just done, what I did is I just created a drop down here, which is linked with this block, and this block gives me the repayment profile of the debt, which is this. So there are 3 types of different repayment profiles, and those profiles can be chosen by using this drop down, right? As soon as I change this drop down, this number gets updated here, and accordingly the profile gets updated, and according to the profile the repayment numbers get updated, and the chart is updated. Right? Then I showed you different types of charts and graphs that we can create, right? After that, I showed you this speedometer chart, which is linked. So this chart gives me the actual numbers which is entered here in the zone, in which zone they are lying, and this chart tells me the percentage of this number out of 180, and also the color of this chart changes accordingly, right? One last thing that I would like to tell you is, and this is a very, very good option for analysis point. So what we can do is, if we just quickly want to, suppose we are working on some model and we are calculating some logics, and after that we also want to check whether the trend is coming correctly according to whatever logics we are creating. Suppose if I talk about this block, sorry, this e-payment, I just quickly want to see whether the numbers are falling in correctly according to what I am modeling. What I'll do, I will select this row using Control Shift right arrow like this, and I will press the F11 key. As soon as I press the F11 key, you can see a chart. Completely a new sheet is added, which is chart 1, and this chart appears. So this is called quick chart, right? And this, we just create this kind of quick charts to quickly analyze whether the numbers are coming correctly or not, right? So suppose I change the profile from, so for example, I change it from 2 to 3. You can see that the numbers would update, and I'll select this. I'll just press F11 key, and you can see this quick chart, and this tells me the trend, how the repayments are getting done, right? And to delete this, the shortcut is Alt E L, enter, right? And another shortcut, another key shortcut for deleting any worksheet is Alt H D S, right? So there are basically two shortcuts for deleting the sheet, which is Alt L and Alt H D S, right? So what I do, I'm almost done with the session because this is a quick teaser. I mean, this is a quick session for the quick upcoming dashboard session, which we are planning for almost 3 to 4 hours. We'll be learning different types of charts, how to create them, right, and the complete dashboard, how it should look. And we'll be getting some kind of ratios in those charts, how those updates and how the charts update, right? And what I do, after this session, I will be probably sharing this workbook with you guys, and then you can just practice accordingly. And if you have any questions, then I think you can drop an email, and then we can just discuss this, whatever questions you have.
Yeah. Thank you very much for your great session. I hope you've all enjoyed the training. As Mohit has mentioned, we will be sharing with you the Excel file that he has used for the training so that you can practice what you have learned. We will also make available the recording of this webinar, so kindly stay tuned for that. I am sharing a link which we would like to get feedback from you regarding this session so that we can improve and make sure that everyone's needs are met. I believe there was a bit of issues regarding the echoes, but if we can hear from you, it would help us improve. We thank you for that feedback as well. And as Mohit also mentioned, we will be having a longer session 2 weeks from now on the 7th of June. I will be able to send you this information as well. It will be a 3-hour session where you can learn a lot more on dashboard creation, data validation, and what Mohit has shared with us here today. as he also mentioned, kindly share your questions if you have any, and then we can address them during that session as well. You can send them to learn@investia.com. I will also be inputting that email address in the chat, so kindly note that. And other than that, we thank you very much for taking time out of your Friday to join us. We thank you so much, Mohit, for taking time out of your day as well. I hope you have enjoyed the session, and we look forward to many more informative sessions.
Yeah, absolutely, Nimra. I think these kind of small sessions are very, very interesting because we can just pick up one topic at a time and we can just elaborate those things into bigger sessions as well. So I think these are very, very good types of sessions. And obviously, once we get the feedback from the people who attended and their queries, I think we can just discuss those things and we will be able to answer the questions as they are asked, right?
Great. We will also send all this information to you via email, especially because you registered for this session. So thank you once again, and do have a good weekend.
All right. Thanks everybody for joining, and looking forward for the next session, which would be elongated dashboard session. And I hope to see every one of you there. Right. Thanks. Bye bye.